I think the problem is FINRA's accounting is based on brokers. So we have to collect this from the brokerage, da 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 da. That's fine.
Yeah.
Still, what my TRO is still valid because that's fine. Before the damage happens, we're still going to ask you reissue shares and you prevent the spinoff until you get those. You better tell the brokerages you need them quick.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a valid reason for me to say you can't provide the accountings just because they come from the brokerages.
Yeah.
Tell the brokerages.
It's all electronic. You can go
Yeah.
to be tap into a computer and it should be right there.
Not just that.
Yeah.
The brokerages and you knew that the spinoff was coming since July.
Yeah.
July 14th.
Four
prospectus
S1's filings. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you didn't have something ready, I don't think shareholders should be responsible for carrying the losses.
Exactly.
And I think
that's their dereliction of duty. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a huge risk to shareholders right now. And if something doesn't happen, we are literally going to see either a super dilution and expiration or just lawsuits for such a long period of time and some petty settlement at the end.
Yep.
Let the market play out.
Yeah.
If the hedge funds have to lose, if the brokerages have to lose, if the market makers have to lose, they took on the risk.
Exactly. Yes.
We didn't take on that risk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're the ones who set up algorithms to naked short this stuff like crazy. We didn't.
Not just that. Shorting itself is a huge risk,
Yeah.
and they all know it. There's infinite possibility for loss and limited possibility for gain. And they said it's worth the risk.
Yep.
You took it. You took that risk. You acknowledged it. You took it. So why is it stuck on our books?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where it is an uneven playing field because, they're the market. They make the markets, right? They're the market makers.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're given superpowers over us.
It's such a huge liability to the banks because they could lose a lot. They're liable for these hedge funds. But at the same time, well, you know what? You're playing pretty heavy.
Yeah,
you're
giving them 30-1 margin. What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And the hedge funds, these people really, they need to go touch grass. Like, they've lost sight of reality. And it's like, okay, but we are all the ones that are working, investing, just trying to have some longevity.
Mm-hmm.
And they're making millions of dollars a year. I think they can take the loss.
Yeah.
Why? If you have to allocate loss of this on someone, why should it come from all of us?
Yeah. Why
we're
should
not
it
the
be
ones living the high life?
64,000 investors versus 6 hedge funds?
Yeah, and these hedge funds, they're all living these huge luxurious lifestyles. Mm-hmm. They're all doing all the things that the average working person in America cannot do.
Yeah.
And right now you're going to allow this risk to be allocated. Who took on the risk? The hedge funds. Who took on the liability for the hedge funds? The market makers. Yeah. Did they not know what was going on? They really didn't. They were innocent. Don't be liable for somebody then.
Yeah.
I'm not liable. I'm not liable for people who I don't know what they're doing. I don't take on that liability, right? So now I'm not responsible for them. Market makers take it on because they make good money.
So I'm seeing them pop by here. The halt must be lifted on Monday according to the rules. Because I guess there's a 10-day limit for a U3 halt.
So they can extend that 10-day limit.
Okay.
Also, the 10-day limit is strange because technically they kind of created those rules on their own.
Yeah.
Congress gives them certain amount of power where they can regulate, and they just have to be within this power. That's why they are because they're an administrative arm.
Yeah.
You have to go through administrative law to reprimand FINRA. That's why people are like, no, you can't sue, and people keep telling me be careful. You can't burden them with litigation.
Yeah.
For damages. You can, but you have to go through an administrative process first, and it's a lot more complicated than that. It's you have to file a complaint, file another complaint, point out what they're doing that does not follow the intelligible instructions of Congress. It becomes more complicated.
Yeah.
But suing them for an injunction, that's different. That's equitable relief from an action that they're doing, and they have autonomy over the actions initiated by them and seized by them.
Yeah.
So just different. So that's why an equitable relief against them is a lot easier, because you can say they chose and had an autonomous decision over instituting this halt, and only they can release it so it's appropriate to ask for equitable relief against them.
Well, it also contradicts their own corporate action they did, 36 hours before, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. That was just, to me, that was like, why are you moving the ball so much? Because clearly you understand that your boys in these hedge funds are about to get lit,
Yeah.
like on fire, and you just don't want to be part of it.
Yeah.
And you want to insulate them, but by insulating them, you're legitimizing the wrongs that were done.
Mm-hmm. 100.
And you're supposed to be reprimanding and like protecting investors or whatever they claim to be
Yeah.
doing. But
If you're the regulator, you should be regulating them because
yeah,
they're
exactly.
the
Instead,
ones that have the power to do the wrong.
yeah, and you're insulating their wrongs. They're like a clear wrong coming right at you, and you're insulating it. And then the issue with it too is it's just, if you go to sue them, it becomes more complex. The best way to do it is to stop it now. And the halt is 10 days, but also those halts are only supposed to be implemented on trading stocks that are trading over like extended periods of time.
Yeah.
So you're not supposed to implement a halt when you're it's supposed to be 10 days because it's trading, halt.
Yeah.
Halt ends, trading. Like you're supposed to be able to trade and then a halt and then you continue trading.
Yeah.
This was like trade and then you implement the halt and it's a complete seize
Yeah.
on any forms of trading on this stock. So the 10-day deadline like doesn't matter. They can just extend it. Also because it's an improper use of this function that they have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the times they used it on domestic stocks were,
It was like in 2013 or something.
yeah, there's one where a company was doing a 100-to-1 reverse split and then a 10-to-1 forward split right after that, and FINRA was like, what the hell are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
we're just gonna put a stop to this, figure out why you're being weird. Why don't you just do a 10-to-1 reverse and then be done? And then the other time was actually this last summer with BBig, Vinco Ventures, where two insiders were suing each other, and they put a halt on it. They're like, "Yeah, you guys need to figure your shit out before we keep trading, because we can't have investors worrying about the CEO and the CFO suing each other at the same time. Figure it out."
Literally.
So they forced them to like basically do a settlement, and then they went back to trading. And then there's this one, which in the other 232 times or whatever it's been done, has always been on a foreign stock that trades in OTC, where it's some Chinese company that's basically a fraud doing something weird, or some company out of South Africa that's like, founded by like warlords or something. And so they're like, oh, wait a minute, we don't want to fund terrorism, so we're going to stop trading of this stock. And that's been like the other example. So domestic stocks, I would love to hear what their claim is for the extraordinary event. Like, what would be so extraordinary that you had to stop trading?
What would be so extraordinary that you couldn't have figured out in the past 5 months since July?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I bet you they'll give the argument that's like, well, it says there's only 6 million shorts out there. Well, okay, then why couldn't you close those 6 million positions in 2 days?
Exactly. Why are you trying to force them into the company?
Yeah.
Also, if somebody borrows on your stock, you're entitled to that stock.
Mm-hmm.
So you're disrupting that contract. So FINRA is now breaching a contract on behalf of how many people?
Yeah.
Because those are contracted events, those lending out shares
exactly.
for short.
And I turned off lending in my brokerage account. I said, do not lend my shares to anybody. And I did not go out and purchase fake shares intentionally. Right? So
I turned off lending, and I didn't know this until I was like learning about shorts. And also I kept getting messages from Robinhood that said, you can be earning interest on your shares. You can be earning interest on your shares. But Muslims, I don't know if you guys are familiar, Muslims, we don't use interest at all.
Yeah.
So like we don't use any form of usury or interest. So I was like, obviously I'm not going to turn these on. Like even bank accounts, I had to ask them like, please take off the interest on my bank account. But some people are like more lenient, some aren't. I don't know. It's like kind of like, do you like, I don't know, like how much ketchup do you like on your hamburger? Like people are very right in their like devoteness or whatever. But I don't know. I've grown up lucky enough that I was able to say, yeah, just turn it off for me. And I won't cross that line if I don't have to.
Yeah.
But they kept telling me, "Do you want interest on your shares?" And that's why I was like, "So I don't have share lending on."
Yeah.
I don't know how I invented this. When I created Robinhood was back before Dogecoin came out.
Yeah, well, they didn't start share lending on Robinhood until sometime in the last year.
Really? Because
Yeah.
I don't have it on me.
Yeah.
Well, then I don't know why, but I lucked out and didn't turn it on maybe?
Well,
Maybe you
if you had a margin account, they would automatically put your shares into lending. But then, if you have just a cash account, which is what I have my brokerages in, you'd have to specifically tell them also like don't lend my shares, because they will still do it. And a lot of the rectifying and clearing has to do with someone selling a share that doesn't exist. So, and it goes for someone, another brokerage. That brokerage is like, hey, I just gave you cash. Where's the share? And then the
Yeah.
person who sold, their brokerage goes, oh, Christ. And they reach into an account and they pull out a share out of some random person's account and use that to rectify the trade. And then that's when the T35 clock starts, is that supposedly when that brokerage gets the T35 and the person who sold the naked share hasn't covered or closed, they're supposed to liquidate that guy. But then we get into the whole deal of like the swaps and debt swaps and all the things that just
So
screw everything up.
if you read my complaint, you'll see that I attempted to explain a lot of this in the most basic forms of it, by the way. I didn't include timelines. I kept it, and everything you'll find. You said that your roommate is like familiar with. Is he an attorney?
Paralegal. He organizes like really big cases that go to like federal courts.
Does he want to move to Tampa? Because I need a paralegal so bad.
He's done stuff for like Shell Oil and big murder trials and yeah.
Oh.
So
Okay, well, if he ever wants to be a traveling paralegal, please let me know. But so I have another cat here. I'm just a cat
buddy.
whisperer.
Yeah.
Cats. This is Lola.
Hi, buddy.
But so where was I going with this? Oh, so if you looked at my complaint, I attempted to explain all of this in very simple terms. So the judge, it's something called industry background. You put it on complaints that are like highly specialized. So I attempted to explain these things to the judge because I'm trying to tell the judge, like, listen, here's where it all went wrong. And they had an opportunity where they had the duty and the obligation to settle this. And instead they just chose not to. It was a choice. That is a choice that they made. And we are paying for it in the end. And I hope that I got that across to the judge. I'm hoping that he's like ready to rule for me, but he's like, I don't want this to blow up in my face. So make sure they're aware, give them the opportunity to object. And if they don't object, I hope he'll just rule.
Yeah.
And I just don't know. And maybe they will object, but I have a feeling, I don't know, maybe it's just my like spunky optimism. Maybe, but I just feel like they're not going to object to the TRO because maybe they won't. Like, what could they possibly say at this point? Or what are they prepared to say, I guess?
Yeah,
everything's all good.
Someone pointed out on the show last night that like what SBF is being arrested for and charged with here in the States is essentially selling Bitcoins that don't exist. So like we're going to regulate an unregulated crypto platform more than we regulate the regulated equities market, right?
Yeah.
That's give me the 10-minute warning here.
Herbie, what are the questions?
Shall I jump in and see if people got some good questions here? Might as well.